Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this HP laptop. First thing we're going to have to do is remove the battery. So right now this is the locked position, so you're going to want to unlock that. Slide this out, alright, and then we're going to lift that out. This laptop model is a HP Pavilion notebook, model 15t-ab000. Alright, so anyways, this laptop is having a fan issue, so let me actually show you that. So I'm not going to lock the battery right now because we're going to take it back out. But anyways, let's go ahead and open this up and I'll show you what I mean. Also notice there's a crack here on this plastic, so maybe they opened it before or something and broke that. But here you can see the system has detected that a cooling fan is not operating correctly. So you don't want to use your computer when it's having this issue, because you can cause your processor to overheat and it could shut off while you're in the middle of doing something, and that could actually screw up your hard drive as well. So you don't want to have that happen. Alright, so let's go ahead and begin taking this apart. Alright, so again, make sure that's unlocked, slide the battery thing over. A lot of times the battery doesn't pop out by itself, so you're going to have to help lift it up while you're sliding this. Right, the battery model number, this thing's pretty dusty, so I'm going to clean it up, but it's K, I don't know if that's an I, KI04, or it could be KL04. I think it's KI04. Okay, they also have the HP spare part number here. There you go, 800049-001. Okay, so I'm going to clean the dust off here real quick and I'll be back. Alright, so we're back, we cleaned that off, we're going to set that aside. I don't know if we need to clean this out. It looks like they're missing a screw here. Okay, so, well, let's go ahead and clean this a little bit. It's not too bad. Okay, so let's go ahead and take this apart. I just worked on one of these very similar recently. We're going to use a PH1 or JS1 screwdriver. You want to keep all the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. So let's go ahead and undo this screw. This screw is super long. Again, I don't know if somebody already worked on this, so it could be the screws aren't the right length. They might have put the wrong screws in the wrong spot. So you want to keep your screws in order. The way I do that, I put them flat side up or down like this. In the pattern I remove them. Usually I go by rows, and that's how I keep track of them. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 all in this top row. There are hidden screws underneath these plastic covers here, which I'll show you how to get to them in a bit. And I'll keep those in a separate pile. Okay, so let's get all these screws out. Alright, again, there's no screw in there. For some reason it got lost. Alright, so to remove these covers, let me actually zoom in to show you this better. Okay, so we're going to go over here. I'm going to lift up a little bit on this side. So as you can see, you can use plastic pry tools. You don't need to use fingernails. And then there's a gap that will form here. So right now it's really hard to get a plastic tool in there, but once you get this bottom part out, as you can see, like this, okay, oops, sorry, hopefully you can see that. After you get this side out slightly, then you can get underneath here, and then you can actually help pop that out, just like that, and there you go. Wow, that's a lot of dust in there. So that's probably why the fan is having problems. You see that? That's all dust. That's a crazy amount of dust. I'm going to use some tweezers and get all that out. I'm probably going to have to also take this outside and blow all that junk out. Look at that. That's a lot. How does it even get that much dust in these little spots? That's crazy. Okay, and that's not even all of it, but there you go. And I even kind of compressed it a little, but you can see there's a lot of dust in there. Alright, I'm going to clean this off also in the trash can next to me, so let me do that real quick and I'll be back. Alright, clean that up a bit. The rest I'm going to take outside and clean it better. But yeah. Alright, we're going to do the same thing with this side. There's this plastic cover here as well. We're going to lift it. You can actually lift it here. That's probably easier. As you can see, I can get underneath and now I can lift this up. And then we're going to, same thing, get underneath that little gap and use that to help pop that clip out of the way. And there we go. Got that out. You can see this one doesn't have as much dust, I think because the fan is here. So we're going to clean that up. There's a dust ball there as well though. So we're going to use the tweezers and get that out. Okay, you can see. Alright, I'm going to clean the dust off this plastic cover as well, and I'll be back. Alright, so clean that out. We're back. Alright, let's go ahead and set that aside. And then let's go ahead and continue removing the screws. So let's see, we got that row out. There are, again, there's 2 hidden screws. Oops, there's 2 hidden screws. Let me zoom back out. Sorry about that. Okay, so we got the whole top row, but there are 2 screws that were hidden underneath those plastic covers. So let's go ahead and remove those as well. Okay, very important to remove those. All right, we got those 2 screws out. Then we're gonna remove the 3 screws over here. There are 2 hidden screws, okay? So we're gonna pop these plastic covers out. Usually it helps to kind of push this inward. As you can see, it flexes, and then you can kind of get into the gap here on the side and pop that out. But it is really difficult to get these out. You're usually gonna end up making a little dent in this plastic here. Let's see if I can get this out. Yeah, no, I'm gonna end up having to make a little dent in there. Let's try with this super thin plastic pry tool, and nope, that's not going to work either. So usually what I use to get those out, I just use a needle. You can use a small, really thin flathead screwdriver as well, but you just get in the little edge there, or I guess if you push it hard enough, let me see here. If I push this down hard enough, it actually pops this up slightly, and then hopefully we can get underneath there. So let's try that. There we go. All right, luckily that adhesive didn't hold too well. We got that little cover off. We'll set that aside. We'll try the same thing on this side. Usually it doesn't pop up like that, but we got lucky. So let's try and do that again. Just push down on it really hard. So the screw is actually on this side. So we're gonna push down on this area. And yeah, it's not coming up on this side. We just got lucky with that other one. That usually doesn't happen, okay? So we're most likely gonna have to make like a little dent or crease in it. So I'm gonna just get the little needle in there. Okay, and you need something super thin. Get that in. Okay, get underneath there, and then we can go ahead and lift it up. So here you can see it makes like a small, I don't know if you can see, makes a tiny little dent in there, but can't really be helped. All right, so we'll set that aside unless somebody knows a special way to do it. Maybe if I use something else to push on this little hole. But there we go. Let's remove these 3 screws. Okay. If you're just removing the optical disk drive, the CD drive, you can actually do that just by removing 1 screw. So let me actually show you that real quick. Well, we're almost at that point. But you only need to remove this 1 screw here, okay, if you're just removing the CD drive. Okay, let's get that screw out. And then after that, you can remove the CD drive. I like to just use my fingernail like this, run it along there as I'm kind of pulling out, okay? Sometimes it doesn't come out. Like as you can see, it's pretty tough. If that's the case, so if you can't slide it out, oh, I got it out. So I actually just pulled this. Sometimes it gets caught, so you have to kind of lift this up slightly, or you can just flip the laptop over and then pull it upside down from like that. But there we go. If it doesn't work, you can use a little needle in this hole, pinhole here, and that'll eject the CD drive. Let me show you what I mean. So you can use a needle like this. This needle has a little bend in it, so it's a little bit tricky, but there we go. Okay. And once you get that out, as you can see, you can pull this all the way out, and then you can actually grab these metal rails here and pull the CD drive out. So sometimes that will help. This is also pretty dusty, so I'm going to clean this up off camera, and I'll be back. All right, so I cleaned off what I could on here. We're going to set that aside. Oh, one other thing. You can actually replace this optical disk drive with a hard drive adapter. They have SATA hard drive adapters that you can actually slide into these slots. You will have to transfer over this metal bracket. There are 2 screws holding that. And then if you don't want this big gap here, you will want to actually transfer this plastic piece over as well. This piece is really difficult to remove without breaking the little plastic clips, so I don't do that unless somebody wants me to replace their drive. Sometimes if it breaks off, you can just take this and glue it onto the adapter. But there you go. There are 2 types. You will want to measure the thickness here. I believe this is the 9.7 millimeter or 9.5 millimeter thick, but you'll want to measure yours just to be safe. Okay, so let's go ahead now and continue removing all the screws. So there's 2 more screws on this row, so we're going to remove those 2 as well. Okay. Wow, that screw is actually pretty long. Again, I don't know if the customer changed the screws or not. Most of them seem to be about the same length, but this one was super long, and then the one that was holding that plastic piece in was super long as well. There was missing one here, so that would have been a really long screw as well. All right, we got 4 more screws down here. Let's zoom out a little bit and remove those 4 screws as well. Okay. All right, so I have a feeling when I pop this open, it's going to be filled with dust. So I'm going to have to take this outside and clean it up. Usually to clean it up, what I do is I have an electric air blower. I brush off all the dust with a toothbrush first. Then I blow the dust out. So after I loosen it up, I blow all the dust off. And then that's pretty much how you can clean out all the dust. You do want a powerful air blower. Don't use those little cans. Those things actually blow out really cold air, and they can cause condensation to build up and cause liquid damage to your computer. So I don't like using those little cans. Anyways, we're going to remove these 2 screws over here. Okay, so remove those as well. These are PH0 or JIS0 screws. So you can't use the same PH1 JIS1 screwdriver, or you're going to damage those screws. So make sure you switch over to a PH0 or JIS0. If you like the idea of little portable air blowers like a can or something, you'll want to get something like this. This Giotto's, I forgot what it's called. It's like a rocket blower or something. But this one is hand powered. You just have to keep squeezing it. It's pretty powerful, and it doesn't use compressed air. It's just air that's blowing out from squeezing this. Basically, it has a one-way valve. Anyways, this isn't a video about that. So let's go ahead and continue taking this laptop apart. So we got all the screws out. Next thing we're going to do is pop the cover off. So let's zoom out a little bit. Oops, too much. Okay, so to pop this out, what you do is you get in here. So in between this, there's actually a little gap here between the palm rest and the cover. So what I do, you can use plastic pry tools. I like to use my fingernails because I can get leverage, and I can actually pry it up like this using my thumbs and my fingers to rotate. So I get my fingers in there, or my fingernails in there, and then I use my thumbs here, and I push like that while I pull with my fingers. As you can see, it pops out really easily. Again, this is much easier than using plastic pry tools or whatever you use to pop them out. So this makes the job much easier. So here you see. All right, so we're gonna go around. To remove this, you can actually see the clips. The hooks are actually hooking over this way. So you wanna move this plastic piece out that way while you're kind of lifting it. Oh, it looks like they actually broke this plastic piece as well. So this laptop's kind of also falling apart. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting up with my fingernail here, and then I'm pushing this plastic out this way as I kind of lift it up. And here you can see it unclips really easily. Looks like this part's also broken as well. Wow, the customer has a lot of the plastics all broken up, falling apart. Okay, so once you get all of that out, this part we're gonna have to pop out as well. So the way you do that, you just pull on this, use your fingers to grab here, right? You don't wanna pull too far, just from like kind of the edge. And then again, using your thumb, push on the back and then pull up like this, okay? So just like this. You can use your palm as well to kind of help rotate it. As you can see, it just pops out. And we're going to go over to the side edges over here as well. Make sure that pops out. And yeah, all right. So let's see if we can now lift the cover off. There we go. So you lift the cover up from this side, and then you slide it over that way. So like this, okay? There you go. Bottom cover comes off really easily. It's a little bit dusty here, not as bad as I was expecting with all the dust bunnies in there. This fan, wow. This thing is completely stuck, so I can't even turn it by hand. So that fan is really bad. Hopefully it's just something jammed in there. We're going to try and take the fan out and then see if we can find out what's blocking it. And then we're also just going to, again, take the toothbrush, scrub off the dust to loosen it up, and then use the air blower to blow all the loosened dust out. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can take this fan out. I'm gonna just go quickly over what's inside here. If you're gonna work on the inside of the computer, after removing the battery, I should have mentioned it earlier, but you can open up the computer and then press and hold the power button for 15 seconds to make it a lot safer to work on. That's very important if you're gonna mess with the LCD or LVDS connector right here. So keep that in mind, all right? All right, anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at what we got inside. I believe this is the power button board here. There's a little connector. There's a flip latch to remove that cable, and it connects up here. Okay. You got the 2 USB ports. It looks like they actually destroyed that USB port. And then you got the Ethernet port, or LAN port, whatever you want to call it, SD card slot. It's all on this one board with this cable running to the motherboard. Bad design because they put this cable underneath the motherboard. At least you can disconnect it from here, but if this cable is damaged, you have to take the entire motherboard out to remove it. All right, you got the DC jack charge port connector here. So it looks like you can remove this just by getting these hinge screws out, and then you can actually lift the hinge up. If you can't lift it up by hand, what you can do is open the laptop slightly, undo the screw, and then close it back, and the hinge will stay up in its position. You don't want to open it up too much because then when you close it, it might hit something over here. Though actually this design seems like it might not be an issue. You might also have to remove this board so that it won't hit, this metal piece won't hit this. All right, DC jack charge port connects right here. These kinds of connectors, you kind of just grab the wings and you kind of just wiggle it to pull it out. You got the BIOS battery, CMOS, RTC, real-time clock, whatever you want to call it, battery here. So it's a separate 3-volt CR2032, very common, used on pretty much all the desktops. To remove this, you get in here and then you can just push the battery this way and then you can lift it out. As you can see, like these parts here extend out slightly. Let me actually zoom in here for you. So these plastic parts extend out a little so it catches on here. So when you slide the battery that way, this part's spring loaded, then you can pop this out. You want to be very careful though that you don't drop this battery in here, because then the power can go from the battery and damage these, or if there's still power in here, it can actually short it out. I don't know why, but there's a bunch of dust all concentrated around the CPU right here. There's no air that blows on it, so I don't know why the dust is just magnetized to that. That's kind of weird. Maybe it's sticking to the thermal paste underneath. You got 2 sticks of RAM here. We're just going to check one. It looks like they're different types of RAM, so let's go ahead and pull that out. Here you go. It's PC3L12800S. You can get any PC3L12800S RAM and it should work. So if you want, you can get 2 8GB sticks. I don't think they have 16GB sticks for this. So yeah, make sure it's PC3L12800S. Okay. Same thing with this RAM. You can just pop that out. This is possibly an 8GB stick, so there's probably like 12 gigs of RAM in here. Usually you want matching matching amounts of RAM for best performance. I don't know why they put like that mismatch, then it doesn't work with the dual channel properly. But anyways, you got the keyboard connector here with a flip latch, keyboard backlight connector, also flip latch, and then you got this connector here for the touchpad, I believe. All right, same thing, flip this latch and you can pull these cables out. If you want to see how to do that, pretty much more than 90% of my videos I show how to remove those, but I'm not going to remove it for this repair. Because I don't need to, and I don't want to put any extra risk on components that don't need to be replaced. You got the 2.5-inch SATA hard drive connector here. It's right there. So you can flip that latch and pull that cable out. This one, okay, it looks like, okay, so this one, I think I've done another video with this, but you pull it up from this side. So you want to disconnect this and pull that cable out first. You can pull it out by this plastic tab, the blue plastic tab. But you lift it up this way. There's little feet that stick underneath here. So it actually slides in and then it goes down this way to hold itself in place. I'm going to leave that there. I don't want to mess with it. But yeah, I think this rubber bracket actually isn't even mounted with screws. So it's just held in place with little rubber nubs that go into the screw holes. Okay, so that's that. You got the wireless card here. With the antennas, you just pull up from the tails and you can pop them off. Again, I have other videos showing how to do that. Speaker connector right here. And part of the speaker cable runs underneath the motherboard over to this speaker. So both speakers are connected with this one cable. All right, I don't know what this little connector is here for. Maybe it's like a diagnostics pin that the manufacturers use, or connector that the manufacturers use. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to do anything with that. We got 2 screws here, looks like, holding the fan in place. I don't know if this is going over the fan, so let's go ahead and remove the screws and see what we got. All right, we got dust bunnies out here, so let's go ahead and try and get this, clean it up. Okay. All right, so we got 2 screws here holding this in place, I think. Let's go ahead and remove this one. Okay. 1 screw, and let's get this screw out. and hopefully we can lift the fan out. So let's see. Okay, it looks like it's loose, so that's nice. This has this kind of connector where you kind of just get underneath the wings. Again, I just use my fingernails for this. Go underneath the wings and you kind of just wiggle it as you slowly pull. Just keep wiggling it and eventually it should pop out. Okay, so just keep doing that. Wiggling, wiggling. Oops. Come on, there we go. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Just like this, and there we go. All right, you don't want to just yank it out because then that can tear this thing out of the board if the solder job isn't done well. All right, so here we have the fan. I don't see anything. Okay, well, I spun it and there we go. It loosened up and it's spinning now. So I don't know what was caught in there. I'm going to clean out all this dust, put it all back together, and hopefully, oh, okay, I do hear something in there. So there's, oh, here you go. So a broken piece of plastic somehow fell in there. So I guess whatever, something chipped off and broke and fell into there, and that's why their fan stopped working. You can see this very thin powder. This is usually dust from like construction or something. You can see how thin that powder is. Yeah, that's usually like from construction drywall or something, but I don't know, it can be from other things as well. Maybe sometimes I'll see like dental offices get that because they're always drilling the teeth, and it's pretty crazy. You can actually see the dust from the teeth in there. So here's a piece of broken plastic. Oh, I think that's from that one corner that I was talking about that had that broken piece, and it was just hanging on. I don't know how it was staying in there, but it was. All right, so anyways, yeah, I'm gonna clean these out when I use the air blower. So I'll brush it. I have a video showing how to clean the fans, but I'll hold this, the center, and I'll brush it so that it slowly turns like this. And then when I use the air blower, I'll blow into it and let it slowly spin, because you don't want it to quickly spin. If something flies into the fan as it's spinning, it can actually break the propellers off. I've had that happen one time, long time ago, and then I had to try and glue the propellers back and then order a replacement fan because the glued one, because it's not balanced, was a little noisy. So be careful with that. You don't want to be too aggressive with the fans and stuff like that when you blow them and clean them out. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to take this outside, clean out the dust. There's a bunch of dust now all over my desk, and we'll be back. You'll see a much cleaner computer. All right, see you guys in a bit. All right, so I'm back. You can see the fan is a lot cleaner now. There's also an HP spare part number for this fan, so if your fan is actually broken, 812109-001. All right, and then there's an actual fan model number there if you need that. It's super long, AB06. You can pause and read that. Okay, all right, anyways, let's go ahead and take this cover back off. So we cleaned up inside here. It was a little bit covered with powdered dust. So yeah. All right, one other thing I noticed, this hinge thing was a little bit weak. It's actually popping out. So let's see if we can take this screw out. I'm gonna try and reinforce it. Oh, so this screw actually, as you can see, it's just spinning around in there. So I'm gonna have to reinforce that with some epoxy or something. Let's make sure these screws are tightened in place and not spinning around either. So this one has, actually, it goes into a piece of metal. I'm gonna use some red thread locker just to make sure, because it was a little bit loose. When those screws come loose, that actually causes damage. So we're gonna make sure this thing holds on really well, because we don't want that to come loose. All right, you don't want to put too much. All right, not even a drop. I don't know if you can see that. There's just a thin layer on there. Okay, and we're gonna get that screw into there. We don't want this screw coming loose. So this one, it only had the one screw and that other hidden screw, and that's not enough, because the screw that you want holding is close to the hinge as possible, which are these two. And that means this screw was doing almost all the work. This screw was doing almost nothing. So this one actually, the plastic underneath is cracked and it's not holding very well. Okay, so as you can see, this screw is also really loose. So again, we're gonna add some red thread locker there and make sure that those hold well. Okay, just a little, again, not too much. If you put way too much, the plastic around it could become brittle. So you don't want to put too much. But wow, that screw was actually really loose, because now when I tighten it, it tightens a lot more. Okay, and then this also I can tighten even more as I tighten the other one. So there we go. Got that. We also cleaned up this. I used the toothbrush to clean it out. And now you can actually see, I don't know if you can see, the camera's not focusing right, but you should be able to actually see through this grate here to the other side. So, oh, maybe that way. Yeah, so you can actually see light going through to the other side, and that's how you know it's nice and clean. Okay, so again, let's go ahead and pop open this hinge. I know this is additional work. Maybe somebody will need this. Again, you can see this isn't really doing anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the laptop slightly, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep some pressure over the hinge like this, get my hand in there, and then use my fingers to push the screen down, okay? So that way we can lift it up slightly. So I lifted it just a bit, so you can see the gap here, okay? Now when I let this go to close, you'll probably see this hinge will probably come up. So I'm going to help, oops, let me zoom out here. So the other hinge, you want to also hold on to it, again, because it doesn't have all the screws holding it. So I'm going to push down on the hinge, okay, and hopefully that will help. This thing actually isn't coming out completely, so it's actually not completely broken. Oh, I see. There's a metal shim there, so this is going to be very tough to take this out. So they have a little metal piece here, so it's trapped between the screw and that. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to take this out. Let's see. I'm going to try and undo this screw. Nope, it's not coming out. And actually, I can see this moving around. So here you can see the brass thing in there is just spinning around. So I'm going to try and use some needle nose pliers to grab a hold of that while I turn the screw. And that should allow me to take it out if I can reach it. So I'm going to try and see if I can grab in there, and let's, okay, I can't really grab it. Wow, that's not good. Okay, this is somewhat of an awkward angle to work on it. So, but basically try and get in there and see if I can grab that. Again, it's really awkward and tough to try and grab that, so I'm going to try and hold the laptop still and see if I can. All right, I think I got it. There we go. So we got that out. All right, so let's go ahead now and see if we can lift this hinge up. Yes, we can. So you can actually lift this hinge up without taking this board out, okay? And then you can easily change out the charge port here. I don't think it's supposed to move like this. So this piece actually should be solid sticking out. I'm probably going to add a little something here, so that way this piece can't get pushed inside the computer. Because if it gets pushed inside, then the charger is not going to reach and it's not going to plug in. So I'm going to get maybe like a wad of tape or paper or something just to hold it in there, so that way this can't push back. And I think this is part of it, like the plastic that's coming out. Actually, I can see it right now. So this plastic piece, it came out completely. So this was the plastic holding that into place. And that might be where, I don't know, there's lots of broken plastic everywhere, but it could be that little piece of plastic fell over, went into the fan, and clogged it up. So this is ending up being more than just a fan repair. But yeah, it is what it is, okay? So I'm going to have to see how I can do that. Normally I would do this in 2 steps. I would actually put like a smaller screw, not this full-size screw. I would put a tiny screw in here just to hold it against this metal piece, and then I would get JB Weld and fill up the gap around here and here, so that way it will hold that screw back into place, because there's no other way to hold that down. So I'm gonna have to get some JB Weld. I'm gonna speak with the customer and see if they're okay with picking it up tomorrow, because if I do that process, it's gonna be like a 2-step thing, and I'm gonna have to continue the video tomorrow after the epoxy sets. So let me speak with the customer and I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. So we're gonna try and fix this. I'm gonna flip this hinge back more, actually. All right. So I can probably use the original screw, because I don't have to get the screw on the outer layer, just on the hinge here. So I can probably hold the screw mount in place while I screw it in, and that will keep it in the right position for when the epoxy is setting. So what I'm gonna do right now, we're just gonna fix this piece first, and then I'm gonna try and hold this into place. We'll see. I'll put a little epoxy in there, and then I'll probably use like a toothpick or something to kind of hold it in place, or maybe I'll use these tweezers just to hold it in place enough that the screw will tighten, and hopefully it will create enough friction that I can tighten it all the way. So we probably don't need too much JB Weld, but let's go ahead and grab that. Okay, I'm gonna grab this tray here. I have these tools I use to use the JB Weld. All right, so we're gonna stick that down. We don't need too much, I think. Actually, we might need quite a bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this. All right, so I'm probably gonna have to buy some more JB Weld soon. Do a lot of hinge repairs and stuff with this. So, all right. One thing I should probably do is figure this piece out first. So I'm gonna try and just stuff something in here to kind of hold it in place. Probably paper will work best, and then I'll just wrap some tape around it in reverse to get it to keep its shape better. So let's see. I'm gonna get some of this thicker cardboard stuff. This will probably be good. All right, we don't need much, so I can probably just cut this tab off here. All right, so let's go ahead and grab that. Yeah, all right. So let's cut this. That's probably already more than enough. And then let's go ahead and cut this off. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to fold this up. So let's fold this in half. There's no exact measurements or anything like this. This is kind of a thing where you kind of just use what you think will work best. All right, and then we're going to fold this over in half this way. All right, I'm going to fold this in half over that way. Again, whatever works for you. All right, you can see it's not quite there, so what we're going to do now, we're going to fold this over in half again. Okay, so now that might be a bit too thick. Is that going to work here? Okay, that might be perfect, especially since I'm going to add tape. So let's fold this over as well. Okay, and we're basically going to shove this behind here, and that's gonna hold that in place. So here you can see it actually stays in place pretty well on its own. Let me actually zoom in a bit here, sorry. So now it stays in place on its own pretty well. I am gonna add some tape folded backwards over it, or you can just use double stick tape. Again, this isn't an exact science thing, it's just whatever works. So what I'm gonna do now, cut a piece of tape here. Right, we got a piece of tape. And we're just gonna roll this over on it backwards. So what you can do to make this easier, I'm gonna tape part of it inside one of these flaps here. Okay. All right. So that way, when I fold this back, it holds itself. And then we're just gonna roll this tape over it. Okay. And we're just gonna roll this over backwards, so that way the sticky side is on the outside. Okay. You don't need to use any special tape. This is just packaging tape. Okay, and then this side is more rounded, so I'm going to push that side down into there. All right, and that tape should prevent it from coming out on its own, and that will hold that into place. This plastic's also breaking, I think, so I should probably just pull that out. Yeah, I think that plastic's definitely broken. So I'm going to pull this little tab out from there. Actually, it's broken, but like a thicker piece underneath is holding it in place. So I'm going to pull it out from underneath. I have to lift this metal tab up slightly to get it out. Come on. There we go. Yeah, because I don't want any more loose plastic stuff rolling around in there. So we're going to take that out and throw that away. All right, we should be, well, we'll need the pliers later. Or, yeah, we'll need the needle nose pliers later. Okay, so now we got the charge port lined up. It should be okay, even if you kind of push it in. You can see it's just pushing against that metal piece, which isn't a problem. So hopefully it does compress enough. I think it should be good. All right, so let's go ahead and get the JB Weld stuff mixed up. And then we're gonna try and fix that. So get that, oops, okay. And then I have this, I use this little, that's just a Q-tip that I cut the ends off of. You can use whatever you want to mix it up. All right, so you got that cap off. We're gonna add the white part first. Need some paper towels so I can clean this off when I'm done. Okay, probably not gonna need a crazy amount. Maybe like that much is probably good. So we're gonna get that. Again, this isn't an exact science. It's not something where everybody's computer will be the same. Everyone's will be different. Everyone's will be broken differently. So keep that in mind if you're gonna try and use this tutorial to fix yours. It's gonna be slightly different. Okay, so we're gonna get the black one. Get a very similar amount. Same thing. There we go. Okay, so we got that. Clean this up. All right, there we go. Now let's go ahead and get the, I use this little screwdriver because I have a million of these, and I'm just gonna stir this stuff up. Okay, again, you don't have to use the same exact stuff I used. This kind of glue I found works a lot better than almost all the other ones, so that's the one thing, you want to use the same, but as far as how you mix it, what you use to mix it on and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter. Okay, stir it all up. Get it all mixed real good. Right, I'm going to look underneath to make sure. Okay, looks like it's mostly mixed. There's a little bit of white spots there, so scrape it up and just stir it together. All right, just like mixing paints or something. There we go. Okay, so I made a lot more than I'm probably gonna need, but that's okay. It's better to have more than not enough and then have to adjust it while you're in the middle of working on it. So what I'm gonna do now, let's see if I can actually get this in there. No? Okay. Can I get the tweezers in there? Okay, so I can actually use the tweezers, and since it springs itself open, then I can use that to kind of hold this thing into place, at least partially. Okay, so I can hold that up, and then I can get the glue into there. You can probably also do this while it's upside down, so I'm just gonna get the, oops, sorry, I'm going out of view. So I'm using the tweezers to help hold that up into place, and then I'm just gonna fill the gap in there with the epoxy. Okay, it's gonna keep moving around, so it's gonna be a bit tough to do this, but we'll do what we can. All right, so now we're gonna get the epoxy into this side. Oh, I'm gonna get it onto the tweezers. Okay, get that in there. So you want this to go all around that metal brass piece. Okay, and we're gonna add more after we put the screw in, but right now we're kind of just trying to get it to fill it up. Kind of want to move the brass thing out of the way so that you can get this in. If you want, you can actually even lift the metal piece up here. You can bend that up slightly just to get all of the epoxy into there. Okay, that's probably a good amount already. So let's go ahead now and, ow, stabbed myself with my tweezers. So let's go ahead now and see if we can put this back down. We don't want the epoxy to be on the top metal piece here, because when we put the hinge, you want to still be able to remove that hinge. So we're going to clean this off. Though usually if it's a very flat, smooth surface, you can probably separate it, no problem. So let's go ahead and close this down. Okay, make sure that these pieces are lined up. Oops, let me zoom out a bit here and move this out of the way. So make sure these pieces are lined up right, so you can actually still kind of slide this bottom layer around to get it to line up right with the charge port and everything, and then close that hinge down. All right, Wow, why is it so difficult to move this? Oh, the plastic for the other side of this is also kind of broken, so I'm going to take that out before it causes damage to anything. Okay. So, all right, let's see here. I'm going to lift the thing up a little bit and then push that down. Okay, I don't know why it doesn't want to go completely down into place. Oh, is this metal thing? This metal thing is actually hitting that piece that we made, that little wedge. Well, looks like we might have to trim the wedge down a little bit. We'll see. I'm going to use a smaller screw here. So I'm going to try and put this to hold these into place, so that we can hold these sides into place and it will hold that down better. All right, I'm going to get another small screw to do that. All right. That way the entire thing is held in properly. I'm going to have to look for another screw to replace that missing one, because that missing one is more important for the hinge. So, all right, there we go. The charge port should be nice and tight. It's not really moving around. And now let's see if we can get this screw into that. Okay, looks like it's working. All right, so now that we got to the actual thing, so here you can see it lifts up slightly, so that's not going to work. I'm going to have to use the tweezers or pliers to hold that brass piece in place, if I can, and then twist that. Okay, that's not going to work with the tweezers, so I'm going to have to try and get it with the pliers, of course, because there's no teeth on the tweezers and it's super thin. So let me make sure to clean that off. Alright, let's go ahead now and use the needle nose pliers here. We have to try and get in it at an angle. Okay, it's pretty tough to hang on to that, but well, let's see. Okay, now I'm going to pull the pliers into there and hopefully, nope, I can't grab that. So it's very tough to grab that. Let's see if I can grab from this side. I don't, oh yeah, maybe, no, I don't know. Alright, well, maybe if I can just get it to grip enough. Yeah, it's working. Okay, it's working. There we go. So now you can see when I try and tighten this, the screw is actually gripping, squeezing the two layers together enough that it actually tightens, and I can't tighten it more. That's what we want. All right, perfect. So now this screw is nice and tight. If we want, we can actually remove these because we're going to have to put the laptop back together. So let's take this out. And then we don't need these screws anymore. I will have to, again, find another really long screw like the other one. I don't think I have one that's that long, but we'll see. Okay, so now I'm done with these. I'm going to clean it. I don't want this epoxy to set in the teeth, because then these pliers will basically be like smooth pliers again, like the tweezers, and I don't want that. So let's clean that. Okay, looks good. Alright, so we'll set that aside, and now we're gonna tilt this up and just fill this thing with the JB Weld to make sure that it gets a nice solid grip. Okay, and you want to be very careful not to get the JB Weld into the other components, okay, because this does have metal in it. It is electrically conductive, so you don't want to get this into that stuff. Okay, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, and then we're gonna flip it this way. Oh, there's still more loose broken plastic stuff in here, so let's dump that out. There we go. So there's lots of loose broken plastic bits in here, so let's flip it up this way, and we're gonna fill the JB Weld in there as well. Okay. All right. It's not a good design, but it is what it is, so we gotta deal with it. Okay, get the JB Weld all in there. We're just trying to get it to get all in to cover that brass piece. All right, since we have all this JB Weld left, we might as well use it. So I'm gonna scrape all this stuff out. Okay, so let's fill this side up more. Okay, sorry, I know it's kind of not in camera, it's hard for me to see. So get all of that filled up. Okay, and then we'll put a little more on this side, and that should be good enough to hold the whole thing together with the other two screws that we're going to be putting back. Alright, so there we go. We're going to clean up the excess residue that we left all over there. Okay, clean off the screwdriver here. Okay, make sure there's none sticking over here. Clean up the edge here. All right. Clean up the edge here. And then we're going to also clean up the edge up here as well. Again, we don't want it to stick all the pieces together. We just want it to hold that brass piece in there. So clean this as well. Go. Should be good enough. All right, clean off this piece as well so we can use it later. Okay, go. Let's go ahead and set this stuff aside. Let's put the JB Weld away. All right. So here you can see inside, this is what we got. We got the JB Weld filled up in there. And we got the JB Weld filled up in there. Okay, so here we go. Let's zoom out here. Okay, so we got this. And then we're gonna toss this stuff. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead now and put the fan back in. So we just drop that back into place, get the connector lined up, and then push this down. Alright, and then we're going to put the two screws. Okay. And just to hold that back together, you can see the fan spins. I am going to run Prime 95 or something just to heat up the CPU to test it. You can see the CPU, we cleaned out all the dust here and all over this. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention the CD drive optical drive connector is also replaceable. So if you break that, you can replace that as well. Okay, let's go ahead now and continue putting everything back together. So we got all of that in. I think all that's left is to put the cover back on and then put all the components back in. I probably should have added some, well, we can't really add the thread locker to that since it's already there, but we did add it to these two. If you want, you can also add it to the outside screws here to hold it better. So we're going to get this cover back on. So like before, we're going to slide it on. We're basically just doing everything in reverse. So slide this over here. The charge port, is it sticking out? No, it's actually good. All right, so let's go ahead and get this into place, lined up. I don't know, it's hitting something. Let's open this up and double check here. Okay, this all looks okay, so I don't know what it's hitting. Let's slide this back on. Let's see, I'm gonna flip it over here and see if I can see better. maybe it is hitting the charge port there a little bit because we have it pushing itself out a little with that, with the paper there. So I might have to push that in a little bit as I get this plastic piece on. Right? Is it hitting that? Maybe a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and try and get this on and see about getting this piece pushed into place while I get that into... Yeah, okay, I think I have to push that down a little. So I'm gonna use this plastic tool here. I might need a wider one. This is too thin, too narrow. There we go. Okay, so we got that into place. All right, get that all lined up. Get this lined up. Push it all the way in. Clip this all down. Clip these down. Right, hopefully I didn't leave anything disconnected. I think I only worked on the fan, so should be okay. You can see the charge port is here now, and it shouldn't go anywhere even if you poke at it. So you can see it's holding really tight. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put the 2 screws back here that were hidden before. Okay, let's go ahead and get those. Get that screw in. Tighten that up real good. Again, if you want to be extra safe, you can add some thread locker to this, but it's not really necessary. You can actually see they used to have some red thread locker on there. Maybe I'll just add a little bit. Okay, so we'll add a little red thread locker on there. Okay, just a little bit. And we'll get that screw in. Tighten that good. Alright, let's actually add some to this one as well. We don't want these coming loose and causing damage. Again, you only want a little. If you put too much, you can damage the plastic around it, and then you might have an issue taking them back out later. Okay, let's go ahead and get this screw in. Uh-oh, I'm getting a call. I think I have a customer here, so give me a second and I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead now and continue getting all the screws back in. So I think I already added the thread locker and tightened this. Yep. Alright, let's get this plastic bracket back on. So to get this back on, there's this little piece that slides into a groove down there. So basically we're going to do the reverse. So slide this little piece in here first at an angle. So make sure this side is slightly up. Get that in. Okay, once you get that in, you can swing the rest of it over and clip this back into place just like that. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the other one. Same thing, this piece slides over here. Okay, gets into that little groove down there. Getting at an angle. Get that and then click it into place. There we go. All right, so I'm going to try and find, I don't think I have another screw that's that long. This is a super long screw, as you can see. Actually, I think I have one. Is this the same? Yeah, it's slightly shorter. That's probably the best I can do. I don't have one that's that long. So let's see. Because the hinge screws are more important, again, there was one other screw that was there that was super long like that. So we're going to use that one. We're going to move it over. I think that came from down here. So we're going to put the 2 screws here because the hinge screws are more important than the side screw. So let's go ahead and put a little thread locker on there as well. Okay, and we're just going to get that in. Okay, just like that. Get that in. Make sure it's nice and tight. Get the other screw, same thing. Add a little thread locker on there. Good, and then we'll get that in and make sure that's also nice and tight. There we go. Okay, good. We can put the thread locker away. We're done with all the hinge screws. Okay, let's go ahead and get these screws all in. So we have 4 screws that were underneath the battery area. So let's get all of those. And actually, after getting all these screws in, I'm going to test to make sure the fan is working, because I don't want to have to take everything back out after if it doesn't work. So let's go ahead and get all these screws in. Okay, we're going to switch over to the PH0 or JAS0 screwdriver and get the screws that we're holding underneath the CD drive, optical drive. Okay, just like that. Alright. And let's go ahead and put the CD drive in. Okay, just like that. Very easy, slides in place. Get the battery, we'll put that back in. Again, it goes in at an angle and swings it down. Lock that, and let's go ahead and flip it over and test it. So we're going to turn this back over, turn this on. Okay, make sure all these are clipped into place. You can see these clips aren't all the way in. Alright, I heard it turn on. Let's see, the screen is staying black for some reason. Hopefully it's not the RAM. The fan is definitely spinning, so that's good. I don't know if, I don't remember if there was, I think there was a separate BIOS battery on this model, so it should be turning on. I don't know why it's not coming up. Unless pulling out the RAM, it came loose or something when I was cleaning it. But let's see, we'll give it a few more seconds, see if anything happens. Screen is staying black. The fan is spinning. I feel air coming out. So that's good. Alright. Here's the missing plastic piece that came out. So that's here. Alright, I can probably stick that back on, maybe add a little glue. But yeah, it's not showing anything right now for some reason. So I'm gonna take it back apart and then check the RAM, because most likely the RAM is the issue. So yeah, let's go ahead and pop this back apart and we'll see. Alright. Alright, it's not turning off, so I'm gonna hold the button. Alright, so we turn that off. Let's go ahead and open this thing back up and double check the RAM. Pop this open again. Okay. Oh, that sucks. Let's go ahead and get this back out. I guess now the thread locker's gonna have to be, hopefully it will be okay if I don't put it again. I'm gonna just pop this thing back off. Okay. Same thing. Take the screw back out. Alright. Pop this one off. Okay, come on. There we go. Alright, take this screw out. Now we're going to take all these screws out. There's, okay. That one. This one. Okay, this one. And this one. And last one. Okay. Alright, let's take the CD drive back out. Get those two screws back out. Switch back to the PH0, JIS0. Alright, let's pop this back out. Okay, let's go around the sides. Again, this one is cracked, so just pull it up like this. There we go. Lift this side out and then pop these back out. Alright, and then let's lift this and push it forward. It should wiggle out. The DC jack might be getting caught on it, so it's a little bit more difficult to pop out. But let's go ahead and get that through. Come on, why is it stuck here? Okay. Yeah, it's getting a little caught here. There we go. Okay. So let's double check the RAM. I'm gonna pop that out. I'm gonna brush it off. Make sure it's clean. Alright. This also sometimes helps to clean off the pins like this. Some people don't like that I do that, but it does fix the computers. There's also some dust stuck on there, so maybe that's what's causing the problem, shorting the pins there. Clean that off. Alright, get this back in. Make sure it's in all the way. Click that down. We're going to check this one. And yeah, there is a separate BIOS battery there. Oh, this stick of RAM, you can see that pin is a little bit bad. It's dirty. So we'll see. Hopefully after taking it out and cleaning it, it will be okay. Alright, clean that up. Might have to use some chemical to clean that, but we'll see. Right, that pin looks a little, oh, there we go. It's better. Okay, get this back in, and then click that into place. All right, let's see, should I test this without putting it all back together? Let's see if, I don't want to risk it since we have that loose screw thing going on. All right, let's go ahead and put this back in. Okay, we're gonna put it back together and hopefully this time will be good. Okay, so again, same thing, swing it over. Normally this would go in easier, but because the charge port here is messed up, we kind of have to put a little pressure on it to help it. Okay, so there we go. Okay, make sure to get that all locked into place. Lock that all into place. Okay. All right, this time I'm just gonna put the hinge screws over here in. Okay, so let's get this hinge screw in. Tightened up. All right, make sure that's nice and tight. Okay, let's get this back in. This one. Okay, make sure it's all clipped in, put the long screws back. Alright, so all the hinge screws are in. Let's go ahead and put the screws for the CD drive back in as well. Oops. Let me tighten this back a little bit more. Alright, switch to the PH0, JS0 screwdriver. Put those in. Make sure that's clipped in. Let's get the CD drive in. Alright, let's hope that it's gonna power up okay. Otherwise I might have to take that stick of RAM out. I think one might be having some issues. Let's go ahead and pop this open, turn it back on. Make sure, oh yep, okay, so the screen came up, here you can see, and it's working fine. So yeah, the RAM was likely the issue. So we're gonna wait for this to boot up. No more fan error. I'm gonna see if I can add some, what do you call, not Loctite, super glue. Made by Loctite, but super glue. I'm gonna put some there and then see if we can stick this piece back on. It's probably not gonna stick very well, but we'll see. All right, let's get a little bit. Oh, it's not coming out. Is it clogged? No, it's not. Maybe it's all dried up. No, it's... Oh, my super glue might be already all dried up here. Oh, okay, I got some glue out. Stick a little there. And a little up there. Okay. Go. The computer is booting up. Let's get this piece back into place. And hold it there for about 30 seconds because that's how long you're supposed to hold the super glue. Clean off the excess that's coming out. Okay, clean off the residue. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16. I don't know why the screen just went blank. Oh, okay, it's starting up. It's just super slow. Alright, so the computer is actually on right now. It's actually showing a bunch of usernames, so I'm probably going to have to move that out of the way. Okay, I think 30 seconds already passed. So I'm going to block this a little bit. I don't know if you can see that it's on. Let me turn the brightness up if it lets me. Oops. Oh, there we go. Okay, touchscreen. Right? No, not touchscreen. Okay, it's not touchscreen. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Wow, this laptop is super slow. Okay, there we go. And shut this down. Okay, so we should be good. We're now going to basically just put all the screws back in. So let's go ahead and close this up. I highly recommend putting an SSD. That will make the computer a lot faster. But that's not what the customer came here for. So let's go ahead and put this thing back together. Alright, let's get all the screws back in. Alright, and that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Again, these are customer computers. I don't own them, so by the time you see this video, I likely won't even have the computer, so keep that in mind. I won't be able to do additional teardowns or anything like that. And usually the repairs that I show, it's because they're already related to what I'm already opening. So I don't really risk taking apart computers like further than I need to, because I don't want to risk causing more damage, and then that's going to be on me. So yeah, alright, so anyways, get that in, get these last 3 screws here, make sure it's off, and then we're going to get the screws that are underneath the battery in as well. Okay, alright, last one here. Oh, that plastic piece for the USB port actually completely came off. Now it's gone. I don't know where it went. Hopefully it's not inside the computer, but that piece where it was broken here, yeah, it's completely gone now. It doesn't sound like it's in the computer. Computer's off, so let's go ahead and take the battery back out and put the last few screws. And that's pretty much it. Again, you're welcome to stay as I finish putting back the remaining screws. Also, don't forget the little plastic covers that were there. They're just cosmetic, basically to hide the injection mold spots. But yeah, I'm gonna put them back anyways. Okay, let's grab that and grab this. There we go, and that's it. We're all good to go. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next one. All right, let's drop this. Bye.